All right, let's dive into this really fascinating modern ghost story. It's a piece of digital folklore that's got all the classic elements, and we're going to break down just how it builds its terrifying narrative and see what makes it tick. Because this isn't just about a haunted place, it's a story about how a ghost is made.
So, right off the bat, the story just throws us into the deep end. No slow burn here. It's 3 a.m., a train is stopped dead at a totally empty station, and this old man whispers this absolutely chilling warning. You can just feel the tension ramp up immediately. You're left wondering, who are these witches, and why is everyone so terrified? Okay, so this first part of the story is all about establishing the haunting itself. It's really built on a foundation of sudden, shocking violence, which immediately sets up the central mystery for the rest of the story. Who are these spirits, and what could they possibly want?
And here he is. Every good horror story needs one, right? The skeptic. Rogov. He looks out the window, and he's just not buying it. He sees nothing to be afraid of. By dismissing the old man's warning, he kind of becomes our eyes and ears. He's the one who's going to test the reality of this threat for us.
Now, what's so effective here is how methodically this whole attack is laid out. It's not just a chaotic frenzy, it's cold, it's calculated. You have this completely normal thing, an offer of tea, that becomes the lure. Then the transformation is just sudden and terrifying, and the violence is just absolute. This tells you right away, this isn't just a haunting, it's a hunt.
So after witnessing this absolute horror, the old man, the one who warned everyone, he starts to explain. And this is where the story takes a huge pivot. We move from just pure gut-punch horror to something way more complex. A story about a deep, personal betrayal.
And this is the piece of information that changes everything. Our villains, these witches, are suddenly given names, a history. They weren't always monsters. They were just vulnerable, orphaned girls, Rita and Sita, who were looking for the only family they had left in the world. And that immediately adds this layer of empathy that complicates how we feel about what they're doing. And this timeline, man, it just perfectly shows how quickly their hope was extinguished. It was a systematic, predatory act. They arrive vulnerable, they get separated, and they're murdered by the very people who seem to be offering help. And you can see the parallels to what happened to Raghav are just chillingly deliberate.
So the story shifts gears again. Now we're in an investigation. The old man, our narrator, is trying to uncover the dark secret behind these murders. The whole thing suddenly becomes a kind of supernatural detective story.
Now, before we go any further, it's pretty helpful to understand this role. A tantric baba, especially in stories like this, is a kind of spiritual authority. He's someone who can communicate with the supernatural world, who can find truths that are hidden from the rest of us. Basically, he's the key to solving this mystery.
And there it is. This is where all the pieces just click into place. It wasn't some random act of violence, it was a conspiracy, and it was orchestrated by the one person who was supposed to protect them, their uncle, Nathulal, all for their land. And talk about poetic justice, the very ghosts he created ended up scaring him to death.
So, armed with this devastating truth, the old man and the tantric baba go back to the station. And they're not there to fight, or to banish the spirits. They're there to try and have this final, incredibly dangerous confrontation with their rage.
I mean, this is really the central question the story has to answer now, right? They were wronged in the worst way you can imagine. Their anger is completely justified. So what could possibly calm a storm of grief and fury that powerful?
And one of the sisters makes her position perfectly clear. This station, the place where she died, is her domain now. Her pain has curdled into this territorial rage that's just aimed at everybody. She's trapped by her trauma, and she wants to trap everyone else in it with her.
And this is just a brilliant move. Instead of trying to fight the sisters' anger or banish them with some ritual, the Baba brings the source of their pain directly to them. He's not fighting the symptom, he's confronting the cause.
This brings us to the story's really powerful resolution. See, justice isn't delivered by a court or by any human laws, which obviously failed these sisters completely. It's delivered by a confession from beyond the grave.
And that's it. That's the turning point. It turns out the sisters didn't need revenge. What they needed was acknowledgement. They needed their betrayer to face them, to admit what he did, and to show that he was sorry. His confession validates their pain and, finally, gives them a path to release. After they get this long overdue apology, the sisters finally find peace. And the story leaves us with this powerful, really haunting moral, that the greatest dangers we face don't always come from strangers in the dark, but from the very people we're supposed to trust.
And really, that's the question this whole story leaves you with. It suggests that the true horror isn't the supernatural ghost itself, but the very human act of cruelty that can shatter a soul so completely that it just refuses to leave this world. What do you think?